All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the July 17, 2024 meeting of the trustees of trust funds. I will officially open the meeting and entertain a motion to approve minutes of both the revised draft of the May 28th meeting and the minutes of the June 25th meeting.
So move.
I'll second.
Okay, any corrections, additions, or deletions on the June minutes? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Okay. So next item, the Haven medals. Want to pass those?
Yes. Does anyone need copies of the other things or just the cursive?
Were you able to access those documents?
Pardon me?
The Haven documents, were you able to?
I couldn't print that out.
Yeah.
Surprise. Yeah. You got the other ones, Peter?
Yes.
Okay.
And Dana has, okay.
When you
so-
say the other one, Judy, you talking about the newspaper article?
Yeah, the newspaper article, the guidance department memo.
Yeah, there are two of them from the
Yeah.
guidance? Yeah,
Correct.
got it, okay.
So let me walk you through where we are, particularly if you hadn't had a chance to review the documents. But so I think when we were here last time, I reported that we had received a request from Brittany Lynn at the high school who wanted to know if it was possible to change the allowable recipients of Haven medals, and to also to include students who are in the CTE program,
Right.
and also to enlarge the subjects that for which academic excellence would be eligible to receive medals, to include a couple items that was in particular, I think she was looking for health science and a couple others. But so Judy couldn't find a copy of the original documents that gave rise to these. We knew that they had come from Horace Haven's will. We asked legal to look into it, and they weren't able to come up with anything by reaching out to the Rockingham County Probate Court and the State Archives. And so that was at our last meeting. So what has happened since then is that I had did some online research at the Athenaeum's website. All their collection now is fully digitized. And I came up with some information about Horace Haven. I came up with photos of actual old medals that were awarded in the 19th century, but no one had a copy of his will. So I worked with Tom Hardiman there, and he suggested that I talk with Kevin LaFond, who's a city resident, and because Kevin has written the book on merchant script and coinage issued in the state of New Hampshire. And as it turned out, Kevin had some familiarity with these medals because he had covered them a little in his book. He was, and he's also, because he does a lot of genealogical research, he was a subscriber to a number of organizations like Ancestry.com and New England Genealogical Society, and he was able to fairly quickly come up with a copy of Horace Haven's will, which was kind of an interesting story because Horace Haven was from a fairly well-off family in Portsmouth, went to Harvard and was like in the top of his class, and then his last year just as he was turning, and I should say, and he had health issues his entire life, apparently, and just as he was turning 21, he realized that he was going to pass away. So he did a will within a month of his turning 21 and passed away. And in that will, he had an estate of about $25,000, which was not insignificant at that time, particularly for somebody who was still primarily a student. And he ended up making several bequests to Harvard College, to the Athenaeum, to a Bible Society and other local groups, and it included giving $800 to the city of Portsmouth to make awards. They were not for medals at the time, but they were for financial awards for students who excelled in Latin composition, Greek, Latin itself, and mathematics, which would have been the primary subjects that people studied in the 1840s. And so we were able to come up with that will, and of course it provided for payments of interest only on his bequest, divided into 4 quarters for each of these subject areas. In doing his research, Kevin also came up with a 1963 article by Ray Brighton that I sent you a copy of, which was kind of a real full explanation of how this thing developed, at least until 1963. But that article talks about an 1862 agreement between the executor and heirs of Horace Haven and the then city of Portsmouth to sort of restructure the awards that turned it into awards of medals instead of financial awards. It allowed girls as well as boys to be the recipients of the awards. At the time, there was separate high schools, boys' high school and girls' high school. Change the subject areas, including even having things like general deportment. You could get a medal if you were the top in your class for general deportment, et cetera. And then he made an effort to get a copy of the minutes of the city council meeting from 1862. Was not able to get it because the city archivist, Abby Mills, is on vacation until today, or was on vacation until today. And so he is going to try to connect with her and see if they can come up with these minutes. He checked with Kelly's office, but they don't have access
So
to
there's no real documentation of this change?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Now, Kevin is convinced, I'm told that unfortunately for a lot of these records, they're not digitized, so you can't do a word search. You actually have to go back and, but by having the year and the month, which is what the Ray Brighton article, Ray Brighton obviously reviewed these records in order to write his article. So he's convinced that it exists, and so by the time we come back together, I expect that we'll have that. But
Do you know the year and the month? I mean, the date? Is it in the article, you said?
yes,
Okay, all right.
but he's going to be talking with
Abby
today, so hopefully I'll know more in the next couple of days.
Okay.
So the other materials I included, and I should say before we started down this search of trying to see what the records would, the public records would show, I had asked Brittany if she would provide us with a copy of what the criteria, any written criteria that the school department was using to make the awards. And so you'll see 2 items in there. One is a May 2022 school department memo in which it says that the awards are to be made to seniors only, and there were 9 subject areas plus general excellence. And then the list of the 2024 recipients, you can see that it actually includes awards for sophomore, junior, and senior, not just seniors, and the subject areas that they were giving out in. So,
Can I back you up? You said the memo showed 9 subject matters. I see 8.
I do too.
well, no, if you look over where it says 6 credits business courses.
I don't get that. Yeah.
Right, well, so, as it explained to me, that's part of the problem. So at some point, they decided if you were in the, career technical courses or computer science or business courses, you had to have a certain number of credits. That same thing doesn't apply to the old-fashioned
okay.
courses.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the issue. It has less to do with than simply adding a new subject area that hadn't otherwise discussed it. But for whatever reason, at least in 2022, they had these minimum credits that had to be met, as well as having academic excellence in those credits.
So those 3 minimum credits were for the CTE award? Was that all for one award?
No. So the CT would have been, I'm not exactly sure about those, other than, according to Brittany, that is part of the problem. Those credit requirements are not imposed upon things like math, English, regular science, et cetera. The way that the curriculum is developed for the CTE program doesn't match with these requirements.
I see.
And that's,
So that's the problem.
yeah. And once we kind of resolve exactly what the current governing documents are, she'll come in and explain that in more detail.
Because I noticed in 2024, they didn't do any awards for CTE.
And that's, she says, it's because of these credit requirements.
Okay.
Here's what she said to me when I discussed it with her, and she followed up with an email. She said she was discussing the qualifications for the CTE courses for the Haven Medals. While the criteria for all core courses just list A's for 3 or more years, the CTE courses have specific credit counts next to them, and then she lists the 3 you saw. It's problematic because it is really not possible for it to happen based upon how many credits we award per class. For example, there are only 6 courses in the business pathway, but if a student took every single one, it would still only give them 5.5 credits. And you can see from that
Yeah.
that you're required to have 6 credits.
Yeah.
So even students who are in that program, in that particular focus of the CT program, the business one, can never accomplish the 6 credits. So she wants to address that ultimately. So at this point, we'll wait and see what Kevin is able to come up with, and then I think, assuming that comes in, I'll send that around to everybody, and then we'll try to get Brittany in here. I think she's a new mom.
She is. She's on maternity leave right now.
And
It's coming back in August.
She is.
yeah. So either in August or September, we'll, get her in here. By then, we'll know what the lay of the land is. I think the question we'll have to decide, and we may want to talk to legal about it, is I'm guessing that the language that was in the 1862 agreement does not have anything to do with the current list of classes. So over the years, the criteria, if you will, has changed, and I doubt it was done in any type of a formal non-judicial settlement agreement or anything of that nature. And so, at least looking at the will, it's pretty clear to me, and looking at Ray Brighton's article, it's clear to me that the intent of these things was to award academic excellence. It has nothing to do with, because in their medals as well, and nothing to do with, financial need. It doesn't even have a requirement that the student is planning on going to college or pursuing some post-secondary school.
It's more of a recognition for their
Exactly.
for their accomplishments.
Exactly. So the question, though, is what will we have to do to change the current criteria? And again, I'm just surmising that over the years, that criteria has changed probably by the high school as opposed to prior trustees.
I totally.
Yeah. Do you remember these when you were?
Oh, yeah.
Were they the same subject matter as they are now, or?
Well, yeah, basically. They were all the standard classes that they awarded them for. But I'm looking here at international language, French, Chinese. You never awarded it for Chinese.
Did you have Chinese?
No, we did not have Chinese.
Yeah. So, we'll see whether we can do what she's looking, or whether we should look at trying to devise something that's a little more general, like language arts, as opposed to picking, Chinese may be hot now and everybody is studying,
Yeah, we had
Sanskrit.
Italian, I think. I can't believe they teach Chinese. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think the CTE, I'm a little interested in whether on this 2022 memo, it looks like they only gave one award, but I'm wondering if there are multiple curriculums, like business, technical, and computer, whether those are would be or could be three separate awards.
So if you compare the 22 memo with the 24 list,
Yeah.
I think I think it was more than one award even in 22. I think it's the general excellence one. So it looks to me that there are separate awards for each of the individual subject areas, and then there's and that may be limited to the seniors.
In CTE you're referring to?
No, I'm just, I'm talking about, put aside the CTE program.
Okay, yeah.
But, so they give a general excellence award that appears to be based upon GPA,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then they give these individual subject area awards, which are based on a requirement of getting A grades just in that.
Right.
So you could be brilliant in Chinese and not be able to add 2 and 2. And you could get a subject matter, but you couldn't get a general excellence one. So we'll have her come in, she'll make the pitch, and then, I don't have any problems with adding subject areas, but then the other question that we have to answer is whether we can do this or it has to go through that judicial approval, non-judicial settlement process. But that's where we are, and thank you to,
That's quite a book that Kevin LaFond did.
yeah.
This is fascinating stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was interesting. I started doing a deep dive into the thing one night. I'm on it for hours, just thinking this is
The old rabbit hole.
exactly. All right.
Yeah, appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
So, cable television, public access request for distribution.
Can I back up to Haven Metals?
Absolutely.
So aside from the qualifications and the awards, this all started because the trust is getting limited in funds to produce the awards?
No, it's Brittany. Brittany reached out because she got looking at it and kind of was like, well,
Okay.
it really doesn't, so she's the one that actually questioned it. Every year there's been
There's
monies
enough money
there
to
is.
get the medals?
Yes, there
Okay.
is.
Yeah, I thought the Brighton article was pretty interesting, and it talked about how originally they used to give a gold medal out.
Yeah.
And then when they, back in the Depression, when they freed up the dollar from being tied to the gold standard, suddenly they couldn't afford to produce gold medals anymore. So, you have in front of you the request for, the annual request for disbursements for the public access TV. The request is for $86,000.
Which is pretty much going to wipe out.
It did last year as well.
Yeah.
So they take just about everything out. That's what they're using to basically fund the, or it's a big chunk of it anyways, that and donations.
Yeah, I thought,
Well, I happened to watch the meeting when they talked about this, and the total Comcast franchise fee is going down every year now.
Yeah.
And so that, and the city still is going to take $360,000 for the general fund. So eventually, that might be all that we get.
what do you mean, what might be, the 360 or the?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, if
The monies that are coming in, that this 86 is coming through, is dwindling down.
Yeah.
And eventually, the only funding that might come from will be from the city itself and not from this
trust.
trust.
Well, looking at the minutes of the meeting, I got the impression that they were going to ask the board members of that board to go out and start raising money, like any other nonprofit. That might change the interest of people in serving on the board because they're talking a significant sum of money, but
The council the other night signed a new 10-year agreement
With Comcast?
with Comcast.
But be that as it may, try to hear a motion to approve the disbursement requested.
I'll
So
move
moved.
approval.
Okay. Well, you sounded it. So would one of you like to
Yeah.
be second?
Second.
Okay. All right. So you decide, Judy, which one was which. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 They're moving to a new
They
location?
have moved.
They have moved.
Yeah,
Where
they-
they moved to?
I know that they're doing some of their operations, the actual filming stuff out of the mall.
Yeah, the mall. If you look at that memo,
Their offices are 1 Middle Street, I think. Business office.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They were at Marcy, but they
Yeah.
since moved out.
yeah, the minutes discuss how the funds that we gave them last year, including paying the cost or some of the cost to move and set up at the Foxhorn Mall.
Yeah.
All right. Next item is the request for disbursement from the Tommy McCann Fund.
I moved the request. It sounds like
Second.
a good use of the money that, and like actually what he had requested in the will.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Hey, good for Tom for making this happen.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Say aye. And the chair votes aye. All right.
Thank you.
While we're on the subject, I had, at one point, it was my memory that when we were either about to receive these funds from McCann Estate or shortly thereafter, in conjunction with inviting the athletic director, and we had decided that we interpreted this will as suggesting that the funds would only be available for requests that were unrelated to the city's regular obligation to support the athletic programs. In other words,
Right.
we couldn't decide we were going to give this money.
They weren't general fund requests.
I tried to look for it, and I asked Judy to, not before today, but to look into it. But do you remember whether we did that at a meeting?
I know we talked about it. I want to say when Tom
I'm
was
not sure
here,
it was part of the motion.
but I'm not sure that anything was formally voted on, but I will look.
Assuming that it's not, I'm going to recommend that we consider adopting that as a sort of a formal policy or an interpretation that would be connected to this whenever there's requests in the future, particularly after we're no longer, one or more of us is no longer serving as a trustee, just so it's clear for anybody looking at making disbursements that they understand and follow that policy. But we'll see if we can find the policy in the first place. All right. Judy, you want to walk us through the TD reports?
Yep. Does anyone need copies?
I have
I have bigger copies if anyone wants or needs. The TD report, well, let's do the TD report first.
This is the dashboard?
Dashboard, correct. Okay. The month of June was up. We ended the month at $25 million in the total amount for the investments. Highest it's ever been. Really nothing. Performance year to date was, about 9.28% overall. It's pretty straightforward.
Yep. Any questions or comments about the dashboard?
And if July keeps going the way it is,
Yeah.
Do you need copies of any of the other ones on my stuff, or would you like copies?
I don't have yours, Judy.
That's okay.
Yes, actually.
Okay.
This one I have, but the other one is too small on my computer.
Yeah. I get it.
Thank you.
And I actually have as we're closing the fiscal year, we have an extra one for this month. Organized these before. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You want to walk us through this?
Sure. The first one, which is the monthly review, this one is very similar to the dashboard. It's just my way of keeping track of it. There are notes off to the right-hand side that does note that there were payouts of each of these funds. So even though we did hit 25 million, which is a new high for us overall, that is including withdrawals that we did make. The 102,000 out of the parks was the transfer of funds for Prescott Park. $731 out of endowment covered previous Tommy McCann payouts from the funds, and then the housing endowment was for the one request that had come in for admin help, and that we ended up paying out some money from them. So that overall, that 25 million includes these payouts.
And the 102, does that include the marine maintenance?
No, marine maintenance is not invested money. In marine maintenance, that money sits in the checking account. It's not invested because it's part of the loan payback.
Okay, so this is just the
Prescott Park.
TD portfolio that we're...
Correct.
Okay.
This is just TD portfolio. And then if you look at the month-to-month, you can see in June of '24, we're at 25 million. In June of '23, we're at 21 or 21.8. So.
What's your question or observation, Dana?
No, I'm just looking at the progression
Overall?
here.
Yeah. Yep.
We didn't do our job in '22.
I don't think the market helped you either.
Well, given that the market went down about 19% for that period, we actually did pretty well.
And then the big layout is just TD inception to date. All the activities since April of 2021 when we swapped over from HM Payson over to TD.
Can you look at
The big one.
Okay.
Yep.
Before you move to the bigger one.
Yeah.
So you also had the...
I do have a year-to-year
Yeah.
overall performance. So we just closed fiscal year '24, or are in the process of closing fiscal year '24. So you can see the overall, performances. I mean, fiscal year '21, we were at 21 million, and then fiscal year '22 was a really rough year. So, but it's rebounded nicely in '23 and '24, so.
And this report, as well as the prior one with the green bar charts, these are just funds under management. They're not.
That is
all
correct.
funds.
That is correct.
Okay. And is that true of your large chart?
Everything that you're receiving now is based on TD investments.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Do we still have a lot of money in various CDs or checking accounts?
There are no CDs. There's a couple of small checking accounts. I do want to, within the next month or two, bring in what we've got and maybe have everybody take a look at it, see if it's something that we can transfer
Right.
into the investments. I do have an item at the end of the meeting that I would like to talk to you about and get your opinion on, something similar to that. But yes.
A rough estimate, how much would you say we have that's not held with TD?
We probably have 400,000 or 500,000. The bulk of that is in the checking account and cannot be invested. For example, the Marine Maintenance Trust is a chunk of that. The cable, which is now going to drop way down, so that the checking account will drop down. That cable television was never invested because they come in every year and take it. So there are certain funds that are not part of the investment portfolio. African Burial Ground has its own checking account, so And that's probably a high number, that, it's probably like 400,000 maybe.
We're in the African bear, oh,
No,
total,
no,
total.
overall, that's not sitting
Yeah, right.
in the investment funds. A bulk of everything is moved over to the investment funds because that's where these trusts, as long as it's following the will of the trust
Yep.
to be able to invest the monies. Like Marine Maintenance Trust, because that's a loan payback and it's in a unique situation, that money is not invested because it doesn't stick around long. It's either turned around in use for the running, which you have voted on for the budget or whatever, how much you're going to allot to help run the docks. And then there's that payback that we're trying to pay down that loan, which was why the trust was set up.
And that money we collect throughout the year and then
Correct.
disperse it.
And
So
then
some of
disperse it once we see the December number, and then we make a disbursement.
But at this point, I'm thinking about the burying ground.
To me,
It's constructed, we really only do periodic.
and in my opinion, you'd want to look at the trust, but now that I can see when it was first set up and they were paying so much money out all the time that they wanted to do it separately, it would make sense for me to combine those funds in with the investments and let it earn a little bit more money. But again, let me pull all that together for you all, and then you can look at the documents and then make your decisions based off of that.
Okay. And so it'd be helpful to know what's in each of these accounts.
Exactly. Yeah.
So would the bridge lighting be part of one of those accounts?
Yes.
Okay. And probably what's left in the Daniel Street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I'll pull that together for either next month or the month after, but I will get that out so that you can make decisions and roll that monies over depending on where you would like it to go.
Okay,
Okay?
great.
And, yeah. and-
Judy,
Yeah. Did I
just
make
a
a
comment,
mistake?
not to be
Oh, okay. No.
judgmental.
No, that's fine.
But on the big one,
Yeah.
the 4,063,000
Yeah.
in red and 19.29%, that's
Yeah.
all positive, right?
Yes, and it's red. I'm sorry. Obviously, in another month it was red and I forgot to switch it. Yes. Sorry, it should be black.
I just don't want the folks from TD getting all
Oh,
upset.
yeah, no. No.
Or
You are
virtually
correct.
everywhere else.
That was a font issue.
All right. Going back to these, the month-to-date and year over year, again, those are net of disbursements.
Correct.
Okay. So, the increase year over year or the prior month, that's not a performance number. That's account value numbers.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Right.
Correct.
Anything you want to add to these? Or?
No,
Okay.
yep.
All right. So before we get to public discussion, a few other items. We have our meeting scheduled for August, but we don't have anything for the months after that, so I think we ought to pick our dates for September, October, November, December. Any idea when you might be heading south, Dana?
I get some, yes, I do. But I'm here through, basically, in and out through December.
Okay.
So we have August set up.
Yeah, August 14th is the next one. So if we're staying with the usual program, September 18th would be the third Wednesday of the month.
I can do that.
That work for you, Dan? Peter?
Yeah, that's right.
And October 16th?
Hold on.
That works for me.
Yeah.
And November 20th. So that would be the day before Thanksgiving, so,
No, it
no.
wouldn't be, because
December-
Thanksgiving's the fourth Thursday.
oh yeah, there
20th.
is the 28th. Okay, so 20th, does that work?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
And then let's look at December the 18th.
Not the 25th. Huh?
Well, we can, but if you might be here by yourself.
The 18th is a problem for me.
Okay,
Okay.
the 19th, 17th and 19th.
19th I can do.
How about you, Peter? That's a Thursday, it's okay?
Yeah,
Is that okay, or would you rather
yeah,
do it?
no, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
And just going back, Tom, to confirm what you had said prior when we were chatting earlier, you would like TD to come in
Yeah,
in
so,
the next
well,
meeting?
yeah, so that was next item.
Okay.
Mine is, you know, we've agreed to have TD either do a in-person or a Zoom presentation every quarter. So our last Zoom one was 3 months ago, so I think August we should have them come in.
Okay.
And, you know, they can do you know, at least an end of June report.
So, in person in August. Okay.
And then they do the 16th, too?
No, they would do the November one, wouldn't they?
No, the quarter ends in September.
Well, but the problem is that when we've done this, they need more than like 2 weeks to put the presentation after the month closes. I mean, we don't normally get their reports.
I usually get them second week,
Yeah.
but that's by mail. So,
Yeah. And, well, those are just the
Yeah.
regular generated, computer-generated reports, right?
yeah.
Well,
They have come in October before, but,
if they can do a third quarter presentation in October, that would be great.
okay.
We can do that one by
I'll ask
Zoom?
them up front. Yeah,
Well, October 16th you're talking, right?
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Third quarter Zoom. I'll mention it to them when I ask them to come in for a live meeting in August and say we'd like to do October for September
Yeah. In fact, given
by
that-
Zoom.
given that it's sometimes hard to nail them down, let's try to do that October one now, so we know.
Yeah, I'll do it at the same time.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. One other item that came up, not requiring any action, but I was, back at the end of June, I was contacted by Kate Cook and asked me to sit down with her and review some changes that her governance committee is making or going to propose relating to the public art commitment and the Public Art Review Committee. They've decided that they are going to try to combine the art-related committees into a single ordinance instead of having separate ones. And so they had some language that she wanted to know if I had, you know, we would have concerns with it. And I kind of said that I thought it's really up to them to decide what's going to be in the ordinance, but the important part from our perspective is not to do something and it's going to be contrary to the trust. And then I'll share with you the language I gave her about disbursements, explaining that our policy to ensure that everything is done correctly is that we only disperse funds based upon a written request through the city manager's office with proof of authorization by the city council. And she thought that that would not be an issue, so I expect that that will be in the new ordinance once they get around to doing it.
Is this the trust that's funded with the 2% or?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So right now, there is an ordinance that sets forth the requirement that the city set aside, I think it's 1.5%.
1.5.
Of any public project. And then they have a separate ordinance they created in the last year or so for this Public Art Review Committee that is looking at things like the piece of art that's going to go out at Pierce Island,
Yeah.
additional art that could go in the Bohenko Park.
Yeah.
And they're also, they're trying to address the fact that I think they believe that the HDC has authority over art that's in historic district properties, but aren't necessarily, don't have the expertise that the Art Review Committee has. So they're talking about a process where those requests could be sent to the Art Review Committee for a review and recommendation, no authority, but just recommendation. So they're trying to essentially rewrite 2 or 3 different.
Was the garage, the new garage in the HDC district?
No, it is not.
Oh, okay, because I didn't remember any debate about the art there.
No, well, no,
It is part of the 1.5%.
No, I knew that, yeah.
yeah, in the same, so the Art Review Committee is supposed to be the city's, or I guess the proposal is they'll be the city's taster on public art.
Yeah.
Whether it be part of the public art commitment program, the 1.5%, or whether there be other occasions in which it's necessary for them to say this is appropriate or inappropriate, or is,
Like Prescott Park art.
yeah,
Yeah.
or Pierce Island, or that type of thing. And so they're just, I think they jumped ahead and did some of these things in response to very specifics, and now they need to go back and put it into a singular ordinance. And then there's some other, what I'll call political issues that they're going to be dealing with. It really doesn't matter to us. You remember one of the things that happened last year is they came and wanted us to disperse funds that were not used in the Foundry Garage.
Right,
There were
for-
like $21,000 left. They want to release it to the.
Bohenko Park.
Yeah, to the Cedar Chan piece there, and we had to tell them they had to go back and get the city council to vote on
Right.
overriding the commitment that normally that 1.5% has to be spent on site.
Right.
And then, and so what they did, went back and actually changed the ordinance. So they're trying to
Yeah.
rewrite that into a consolidated, more streamlined thing. So, but again, my emphasis with her was that we just wanted to make sure the process by which we're requested to release money is clear, and we're not making a decision on whether it's appropriate art or not, or whether the disbursement is, has been approved by the city council or not. That has to come to us as part of the request.
My only, where it says pursuant to authorization, I'd feel more comfortable if it said pursuant to the vote of the city council. Because what we've requested is that we get certification from the city clerk that the city council in effect has voted to authorize it.
Yeah, Okay, well, so at the end where I say, and accompanied by a copy of the council authorization, that doesn't address what you...
Yeah, okay. There's two different things. It could be a letter to the council from the manager saying, I want to do this, and they say, okay, do it, and they're not actually voting on it.
Well, how could the city council do that without voting on it?
We'll wait and see how it comes out.
Okay,
Where is this language? Where'd you get this?
I've made it up.
Are we going to,
No, you're not.
No, so this is language similar to what we've put in the last couple trusts that we've been asked to approve.
yes, okay.
I-
So that's where it's going to be
Yes.
pertinent going in trusts coming forward.
Yeah.
Well, no. On how they can request the funds.
So just, I think maybe 3 years or so ago, we had a request for funds, and it was a question as to whether those funds could be used for that purpose and whether they were approved by the city council or not. And so at that point, we adopted a policy that said when the city comes to us, not an individual or whatever, but when the city comes to us and asks us to disperse out of a fund that we're managing, where the fund document, the trust document says that we will disperse based upon an approval of the city.
Right.
We've had a policy that we needed the request in writing. You can't just show up and say, well, you give us a check. And secondly, that request be accompanied by
Yes.
written proof of the vote to
City
pursue it.
clerk, right,
For the city
right.
clerk.
Yeah, and so whenever we've had new trust in the last 3 years, this is the language that or something very close to it, that we have asked them to
Right.
include in the trust document, just so. And so because they were doing this ordinance, I suggested this to avoid having an ordinance that conflicted with the trust,
I get it.
existing trust document.
Good to have a lawyer for the chief.
Retired lawyer for the chair. Any other questions about that, Peter? Are you comfortable
No,
with
I'm
that?
fine.
Okay. All right, so that,
I have two financial items that I'd like to add,
okay.
if I may.
Let me just, I
Yeah.
have one more item.
Okay.
I was just, and you may not know this, Peter, but, I'm not Peter, but Dana, but, earlier this year, or maybe it was in around last Christmas, you met with an individual who had contacted us about, or his attorney had contacted us about setting up a
Oh, yeah.
scholarship fund, and we haven't heard anything since. Do you?
I haven't heard anything either.
Okay. Do you know what we're talking about? Okay.
I do know what you're talking about. I have not heard anything either.
Okay.
Yeah, he was, I forget his name.
I've
I
got it
could
in
look
an
it up
email.
in the emails.
I've got it in
Yeah,
email.
so
Follow up?
Yeah, we should just reach out to them and see if there's anything we can do to help them with the process. I think we gave them the legal department.
Right. He was in
contact.
he was in Maryland, if I recall.
Yeah, it was a Portsmouth High School grad who
Yeah.
had
Right.
gone out
Class of
somewhere else.
69.
Yeah. So I just, it can't hurt us to just find out if that's still a possibility. All right, now tell us about your
Hang on one sec.
financial request.
We received a couple of significant checks, and so I'd like you to vote on acceptance of these monies. The first is from SIP, additional monies for the Indoor Pool Trust for a total of $11,839. I have a check that they would like us, the trustees, to accept to put into that trust.
Is this monies over and above the monies that
Correct.
at the end of last year?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's,
And it's subject to this, it goes into the fund?
it goes into
Okay.
the, it goes into, it will be, go into the pool. Yep, it will go into the pool for the pool,
Okay, literally.
literally.
Entertain a motion to accept those funds?
And who's it coming from?
SIP.
Okay.
The money they're
Save the indoor
raising?
pool. Evidently, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It says, you know,
I'm just curious, what's the deal now with the city? Wasn't that redone?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
in fact, that's where this language was, that was one of the documents this language was inserted.
Yeah.
The city's actually operating the pool again.
correct,
Okay, that's why.
correct.
So
And-
this
and
is their money that they're turning back
some
over
additional funds that they've come up with that they would like to have placed into the
for
trust.
operations.
Did this come from Mike Chubrick?
No, I don't know who signed it. It's from Save the Indoor Pool, Save the Indoor Portsmouth Pool, Inc. is the name on the
Okay.
check.
It would either be Mike or Chuck Doliak.
I think it's Charles. It looks like it's Charles, yeah.
I think Mike was doing the contact, but Charles was the president when they were winding down.
Yeah.
So does SIP do anything anymore for the pool, or is it totally a city enterprise
Yeah.
project? Or
Yeah,
Property.
my understanding, the whole purpose for that agreement that we worked out with them last December was that they no longer wanted to be in existence, and they had to release their funds in order to wind down.
Right.
And so, you recall, the whole nature of the SIP was that they turned over all the funds they had. The city committed to making certain capital expenditures over a 5-year period of time, and then any funds in the account at that
And
point.
the city had to keep it open for,
Right,
And then after that period, anything could happen?
yeah. And after that, whatever's in the account, the city could continue to use it for the pool or pull it into the
Yeah,
general
okay.
funds.
Yeah.
Got it. Yes. So I vote yes.
Okay, so
yes.
was there, was there a motion?
I move we accept the check
Okay.
from SIP.
Second.
All right, now any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye.
And
Thank
then
you, Chuck.
We have 2 checks for futures. One of them is for $118,000 and some change. That is for the yearly administrative costs, that check that comes in this time of year. And then there's also a check for $500, which was a donation from Amy Berger and Craig Hood.
Yeah.
And,
Nice. So that
Amy
should,
was a former
yeah,
yeah.
director.
she
Right.
was, yep.
The 118,000, does that come from the New Hampshire
Hampshire
Charitable?
Charitable.
It does.
And that's the budget for administrative from the school department?
Yeah. That,
Okay.
the school department, that pays the salary of the director
Right.
and
Correct.
office supplies.
Yep.
And so we collect the money, and then they have to request it from us.
Correct. So we're,
yeah.
basically, this is just accepting the checks in, and I'm going to deposit them into the accounts, and then when they're ready, they'll get the sign-off, the paperwork from the superintendent, like they always do, making the request for the funds.
So I'm just curious
Yep.
on process. The check from New Hampshire Charitable is directly made out to us, or does it go to the school department first?
Goes to the school department, and then we get a note from the superintendent
makes
saying,
sense.
please deposit these. This is what they are. Would you please deposit them into the
Perfect.
Futures Trust? Yep.
Perfect.
And then they ask us for the money back later.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to accept those donations?
I'll make a motion to accept the
Second.
donation. Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
Peter, how come you don't
Thank you.
give us, turn more money over to us from the charitable fund?
We did.
Jack squats.
And sometime I'm going to find out what we have.
At the charitable foundation?
No.
Or here?
Yeah.
There's a lot.
How much we have?
Well, we have 600 and some odd thousand.
Yeah.
These are scholarship checks.
Oh, good.
This is the best
Time of the year.
This is the best part.
See where all these kids are going.
$98,000 worth.
I can't believe we have $12 million in scholarship funds. Cleo Conway.
Jason Gordon.
What's Dover Technical School?
Okay, so that is a student who has decided he wants to be an electrician, and he's going to the Dover Technical School for 2 years to take courses there to be an electrician.
He can
It's a
do that in
Portsmouth-
high school?
It's
Yeah.
a Portsmouth. It's a Portsmouth senior that's going to go to their accredited program over there. So that's basically paying his tuition.
So that's a post-secondary school that's maintained by the Dover School District? Or is that part of their CTE program?
I think it's part of their CTE program.
Geez, this girl got $4,000.
University of Maine.
A lot of UNH here.
I seem to have the variety ones, although they're almost all
It's
New
how
England
it's
based.
how they print. So the UNH ones, I think Dana got the backpack, so he's got most of the UNH ones.
Wow, Boston Conservatory.
Geez, 7,500 here. Wow.
A couple of big ones. A couple of students got quite a bit, which is nice.
Well, this one for $9,000,
Wait, to what school?
Plymouth State.
Yeah. That makes a dent in someone's.
Gotta be a happy family.
Yeah.
All the parents that I've spoken with are very appreciative, very appreciative. The student that is going to be an electrician, I spoke with his mother, and she was just so appreciative of, having access to these types of.
You know, it is not, it's hard to become an electrician. A lot of schooling, a lot of apprenticeship, years, takes years.
My grandson, who's a junior
In high school?
in high school, went into the program this spring as part of his high school curriculum. He went to this program 2 days a week for like 8 weeks to see if he would like to get into the apprenticeship program. And he made the decision he was not. He was going to go to college. But
Where did he do the program?
it's in Hampton.
Oh,
It-
in Hampton.
yeah. take a right at LeMay's.
Yeah.
You take a left, and it's a building there, and
Thank you.
it's run by, part of the course was HVAC, part of it was plumbing, part of it was electrical.
Is this affiliated with a high school or
The high school authorizes it, and you actually get credit for it.
who runs the building or the program?
The
There was another one too that I saw.
apprentice teachers.
From Exeter or Portsmouth or where?
I don't know where they're from.
Huh, interesting. I
But it was-
never knew about that.
You know, I said, look, you probably, everybody needs an electrician, everybody needs a plumber.
Yeah.
I'll double check them anyways.
My plumber, they're all retiring.
Happy to
Yeah.
let
Randy
me know, I'll come
Jones.
back.
Randy,
I'm going to look at it
He's the
before I let
best.
you leave.
I love Randy.
because his partner retired.
Yeah. So Randy's not doing much, I mean, he's just doing little.
Service calls, basically.
Service
He,
calls.
I don't see Skip around anymore.
Me neither. I haven't seen Skip in years.
They've got a place in Florida.
Yeah.
And I want to say that he may be a resident.
Could be.
You know you're on TV.
There's a success story.
I knew there was another one.
Carl Goodwin's
Thank you.
was very good to skip over the years.
All right, any new business? Okay, we have nobody from the public, so we'll dispense with public comment. And anything else you want us to look at, Judy?
I'm all set.
Move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.